We begin with a breaking story, and well, it has everything to do with our very special election crimes reporter, Greg Pallas. Yesterday, Greg, you wrote that ProPublica reported that the Vulture singer flew Justice Samuel Alito on a private jet to Alaska for a luxury fishing vacation in 2008. I want you to speak to that, but clearly the justice feels justified, and he sort of had a pre-response to the story before it broke. You want to tell us why we should care about a relationship between Paul, as you call the Vulture singer, and Supreme Court Justice Land?
Okay, I've been tracking Paul the Vulture singer, considered the most vicious billionaire financier on the planet. The name the Vulture that I gave him is stuck in his, we've been following since BBC, since he literally stole the money for cholera medicine from the Congo. That's why BBC sent me to Africa to hunt this guy down and what he was up to. But I found out that besides taking the cholera money from Congo, this has resulted, by the way, in most nations of the world actually prohibiting this guy's operation in their nation. And that means England, Canada, China, you name it, he's barred, except the United States, where he seems to have a great deal of influence. Among the other things I've covered in terms of his affecting our democracy or the remnants of our democracy is that I did a cover story for Nation in 2008 that he had secretly arranged for a $100 million payout to Mitt Romney through his wife's supposedly secret trust fund, which we uncovered. $100 million, which came not from Singer, but Singer arranged it, took it out of the auto bailout fund. I won't go to that story right now, but you have to understand, it's not just Samuel Alito. The way it was played by ProPublica, and I'm glad they did the story, it's about Singer has a couple of private jets. He took Alito on his private jet, which is a $100,000 a seat ride, and took it to his,
one way, $100,000 one way, not round trip.
One way.
Go on.
Okay, the round trip is a little more, and took him to his special, luxury fishing lodge in Alaska, and apparently he hooked the justice there. Now, one of the cases that ProPublica mentions, they only mention one that went before the Supreme Court. And there is not a legal scholar in America that they have found that has defended Alito. They said he should have recused himself. If he's and his excuse, well, I'm a friend of this guy or whatever. If he's a friend, he should recuse himself. If he's not a friend, he should not have taken the gift at all, and he didn't declare it. But the case was Paul Singer had paid $50 million for some old junk bonds from the Argentine dictatorship, the military dictatorship. And the IMF and World Bank said these bonds are legally unenforceable. He went to U.S. courts, and this went to Alito, to turn his $50 million of old dictatorship bonds and demanded $5 billion from the nation of Argentina, and literally started choking that nation financially to death. Alito ruled for Singer, and he got his $5 billion payday off his, that's like 100-to-1 investment, if you call it an investment. So 100-to-1 multi-billion-dollar payout. He made, are you ready? Personally, over $1 billion out of the auto bailout funds through what the auto czar that was appointed by Obama called extortion. Absolute nothing, but he extorted the U.S. government. He said he was going to shut down the entire U.S. auto industry unless he were paid his billion, his pound of flesh. And he got away with it because Obama was panicked that he was literally going to shut down all of Detroit, because he got control of the Delco Auto Parts division of General Motors, which supplied the auto parts for almost every car made in America. That would have been the end of the auto industry. He then, by the way, closed those plants and moved everyone to China. Okay? Now, this guy takes Alito on this trip. It's not just the Argentine case. even more important, one of Singer's big cases that he was really focused on was Shelby v. Holder, which those of you who know that, remember that law. This was the case that ended up tearing apart the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act.
Right.
Now,
Right.
Singer, who is head of the funds and is head of the Manhattan Institute, he's the guy that engineered that case, ran the lobbying operation, and if you remember, for those of you who remember this, back in June 25th, or almost the anniversary, the 10th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act being destroyed, June 25th, 2013, he was the surprise swing vote against the Voting Rights Act, because he did not have a problem with the Voting Rights Act except certain technical items. And suddenly, he's the fifth vote which took apart the Voting Rights Act. This was Paul Singer's special. So it's not like this has had no effect on America. And why did Singer care about destroying the Voting Rights Act? It's not like he's a Klansman. He just knew that this was the key to Republican vote suppression efforts, that the whole entire vote suppression effort that we've been talking about relies on the destruction of the Voting Rights Act. That was Singer's holy grail, to destroy the Voting Rights Act. And Alito provided that vote to everyone's surprise.
Amazing.
Frankly. And this is the problem that we've run into. This is basically a billionaire buccaneer seizing our government. And by the way, he's also known as the pirate because when he was going after Argentina, he seized an Argentine naval vessel on the high seas. This is no joke. He's an actual pirate. He pirated an Argentine naval vessel. In fact, it looks like a pirate ship because it's like every navy and just about every navy has a three-masted ship where the naval officers practice on, with an old-style pirate ship, literally. And the problem with that, it's a cute story about a pirate seizing a pirate ship from the Argentine Navy, but it's also seizing a military vessel of an ally. This is interfering with the conduct of United States foreign policy. And again, his activities have been outlawed around the world. The IMF, which I'm not in love with the IMF or the World Bank, but they're the ones who call him a vulture as well. It's not just Greg Powell. I coined
and you
it,
did write a book. Right? You do deal with this dude in Vulture's Picnic, right?
I have Vulture's Picnic, but the one thing I should note is that the Paul Singer story is told in detail. His attacks on the Voting Rights Act, his attack on the Congo, his attacks on the American democracy are in the film The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, which, by the way, I've decided to put up today. If you go to gregpalast.com, you can download the film for free, because I think it's important that people understand the connection between a rogue billionaire. $42 billion is in his control. He's worth maybe about 10 to 20 billion. No one knows, at least 10. And you can download The Best Democracy Money Can Buy at gregpalast.com gratis for the next week. So,
and it's worth checking it out, because we're talking about this guy owning the Supreme Court. It is just stunning. Of course, it's now of a piece as this story continues to unfold that the so-called highest jurists in our land are a bunch of corporate ripoff opportunists who don't want to talk about their own responsibility in terms of the people and all the stuff that we want to really believe in. You want to we're out of time, Greg. Final comment from the moment. We're going to obviously stay with this.
Well, obviously we'll stay with it, but I should also mention that the other fish he hooked was Justice Antonin Scalia, who also he took on fancy private jet trips. So this is not his first justice that he's got on the hook. And, I got to tell you, as one legal scholar said, city councilmen would go to the can for this. And he's a Supreme Court justice.
I know. It's beyond, all right. That's Greg Palast, gregpalast.com. He's got a piece up there at gregpalast.com. He joins us on a regular basis for our Election Crimes Bulletin. We keep an eye on the vote for you, and we will continue to do that. Greg, thank you for taking the time out. I know you are somewhere. I believe you're in Oklahoma today, and you're going to be in Texas, and you're working on some incredible stuff.
Yes, can't tell you yet, but I will.
You will, though.
Yes,
we will out you. Okay.
You got me.
Take it
Bye.
easy. Thank you.